What's up, my comic comrades? Today, Marvel Studios and Disney Plus are kicking off their second MCU live-action miniseries with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And as we always do, we're here to give you the comic book history for some of the characters appearing on screen. We've already covered the comic book history of Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, in a previous episode, which you could find right here. So today, it's all about Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon. But before we dive in, we want to thank NordVPN for sponsoring today's episode. Let's be honest, lately it feels like the world has gone bat crap crazy. And with so much of our lives going digital, one of the biggest challenges we face is the loss of privacy and the vulnerability of our personal data. I mean, the online research we do for some of our variant episodes alone probably has most of our team on some kind of list. I'm just saying. And don't act like you don't have your own freaky fetish search history. Anyway, keeping unwanted prying eyes out of our personal privates is just one of the many reasons why we secure our internet with the best VPN available, NordVPN. With NordVPN, all of your internet data stays safe behind a wall of next-generation encryption, and to top it off, Nord has a strict no-logs policy, which means they don't track, collect, or share your personal data, because they understand that's your business, not theirs. Setting up NordVPN is also insanely simple. Just go to nordvpn.com/variant to set up an account. Download the app on your computer and your phone, then sign in and turn it on. And once you turn it on, NordVPN immediately starts hiding your IP address by redirecting your connection through one of Nord's 5,300 plus remote servers in 59 countries worldwide. You can even choose from several additional tools like double data encryption, IP masking, and obfuscated servers for even greater privacy. But because Nord has servers seemingly everywhere, it gives you the ability to enjoy the internet without limits or borders, including access to hundreds of streaming platforms worldwide where you could explore content unique to different countries. It's dope. Listen, with NordVPN, you can lock down your digital life across all your devices with up to 6 simultaneous connections, insanely fast servers, unlimited bandwidth, 24/7 customer support, and a ton more. And NordVPN is so confident in what they do, they back it all up with a 30-day money-back guarantee. But right now, you could also save some cash on your internet security by going to nordvpn.com/variant, and they will hook you up with a huge discount on a 2-year plan, including 1 additional month for free. Again, head over to nordvpn.com/variant or click the link in the description to take back control of your internet life. You'll be glad you did. But now it's time for some Falcon history. Roll that bumper. Falcon first appeared in Captain America issue 117 in September of 1969. He was created by Stan Lee and Gene Colan. He's comics' first mainstream Black American hero. Now, some of you may be saying, hold the phone, isn't that Black Panther? And while Black Panther is the first mainstream Black superhero, he's from Wakanda. Wakanda forever. So again, Falcon is the first mainstream Black American superhero. As for how Falcon's real-world creation came to be, co-creator Gene Colan stated in 2008, in the late 1960s when news of the Vietnam War and civil rights protests were regular occurrences, and Stan, always wanting to be at the forefront of things, started bringing these headlines into the comics. One of the biggest steps we took in this direction came in Captain America. I enjoy drawing people of every kind. I approached Stan, as I remember, with the idea of introducing an African-American hero, and he took to it right away. I looked at several African-American magazines and used them as the basis of inspiration for bringing the Falcon to life. And just like that, one of Marvel's most popular characters was created. But now it's time to take a look at his comic book origin. Now, even though we see how Sam Wilson becomes Falcon in Captain America issue 117, his childhood and early life was given to us over 100 issues later in Captain America issue 277. So we're going to start with his childhood, working our way up to his adult years, seeing how he became Falcon. We learned via Sam's sister, Sarah, that they grew up in Harlem. Their father was Reverend Paul Wilson, and there was no one on God's green earth like him, a man who cared about everyone, and not just with words, not just from the pulpit. Sarah goes on to say he was the kind of man who always tested his faith, his ideals, out on the streets. That's how it happened. As we learned one day, he was trying to stop 2 fighting gangs, but was killed by a gang member in the process. And unfortunately for 9-year-old Sam, he had a view of the whole thing. As one would assume, this changed Sam, but not for the worst. Instead, he spent all of his time after school at the church community center guiding the younger kids, as well as reaching out to old people, always giving so much of himself to everyone, just like his father. But unfortunately, the worst was not over for Sam. You see, sometime after this, Sam and his sister Sarah were just out for a nice walk with their mother when a mugger stole his mom's purse and shot her, killing the only parent Sam and his sister had left. His sister goes on to say, this caused Sam to snap, as it would for many people. There was just so much conflict growing up inside of him that he just couldn't handle it. He blocked out his father, his dream, his ideals, and became a totally new personality. Cold-serving, a personality he would call Snap. Essentially, he had so much emotional trauma and conflict within him that whenever he got really pissed off, he would snap, becoming very angry and aggressive, taking on the persona or name Snap, which is clearly extremely on the nose, but hey, it was the 60s 60s and 70s. Anyway, sometime after this, Sam was on his way to Rio de Janeiro, but on his way, his plane crashes on a remote island that was taken over by a group called the Exiles. Said group used to work with the Red Skull, but he betrayed them and banished them to this island. Once banished there, they enslaved all of the natives. This brings us to Captain America issue 117. In this issue, we learned that Red Skull has used the Cosmic Cube to swap bodies with Captain America. And once he does, he sends Captain America, now in Red Skull's body, to the same island that the Exiles are on. Cap ultimately runs into the Exiles, who of course think he's Red Skull, and start attacking him for his betrayal. But Cap is saved when a Falcon named Red Wing swoops in and starts attacking the Exiles with its talents. This gives Captain America the distraction and upper hand he needs to escape. He then realizes that the Red Skull's grotesque skull face, as he says, is just a mask, and chances are that the Exiles have never seen the face beneath. So if he just takes off the mask, they won't recognize him. Meanwhile, back in New York, Captain America is parading around the city in Captain America's body, enjoying all the attention. Anyway, back on the island, we're shown Sam Wilson for the very first time, where Red Wing is returning to his hand. With Sam saying, "Good work, Red Wing. Once again, we've taunted the Exiles by robbing them of a victim," even though that Joker in the red jumpsuit looked as though he might have taken them by himself. While Sam is walking away with his Falcon, Captain America comes up behind him saying, "Hey, hold it. I want to talk to you." Sam then says, "Who are you, and how did you get on this island?" Cap tells him, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you, but I'm mighty grateful of you and that sharp-clawed pet of yours." Sam then says, "You're the one in that scarlet jumpsuit who was fighting the Exiles. Any enemy of theirs is a full-time friend of mine," as he proceeds to take him back to the natives' village, where he lives. Sam then tells Cap he's been trying to organize the natives to fight the Exiles to get their island back, but it's an uphill job. It's at this point Sam tells Captain America more about his origin, when Cap asks, "What's his stake in this? How did he get here?" He then tells Cap, "Ever since I can remember, I've been nuts about birds. I used to have the biggest pigeon coop on any rooftop in Harlem. Man, I pretty much could make those high flyers talk. But then I got all hung up on falcons. It started in Rio, where I went for a vacation. The first time I saw one, I was hooked. For good. Then I finally found Red Wing and bought him for my own. We've got something going on that nobody else could understand. He's more than a bird, more than a falcon. It's like he's part of me." Which expands upon what I told you earlier about Sam's child years. We find out that when he was a kid, he trained birds, and as he got older after his parents died, he became fascinated with falcons. Ultimately befriending Red Wing, but more on that later because there's a twist. Long story short, Sam asks Captain America if he'll help him fight the Exiles. Captain America tells him, "You couldn't stop me, but it's gonna take more than guts. They've got the arms, you'll need a gimmick." Sam says, "Yeah, like what?" Steve replies, "I think I've got it. You need something to serve as a symbol to the natives, and something to unnerve the Exiles. Make them wonder who they're fighting. A mask and costume ought to do it, together with a stirring name like, for instance, the Falcon." That's right, good old Captain America came up with and named Sam Wilson's fighting persona. Sam is hesitant at first, but Captain America tells him, "Don't knock it, fella. It's been known to work." Then on the last page of the issue, we see the natives making Sam a costume, and even see him fully don his first version of the Falcon costume, as the issue ends. After this, things play out as you would assume. Captain America and Falcon team up to defeat the Exiles, and then the Red Skull, with Captain America eventually being put back in his real body. But there's a twist of sorts. We later find out that Red Skull didn't only use the Cosmic Cube to swap bodies with Captain America. He also used it to mentally fuse Wilson with Red Wing, creating a mental link that over time gave Sam a broad range of powers over all birds, which explains Sam's strange connection with Red Wing that he mentioned to Cap. Red Skull also used the Cosmic Cube to rewrite Sam's past and erase the years Wilson spent angrily living as Snap Wilson. In the new reality he created for him, Sam was a cheerful social worker who was eventually brought to the Exiles Island, where he would rally the natives to fight for freedom along with Captain America, which we just went over. What I'm saying is, if any of that is confusing, that's because comics. But now it's time for story arcs and publication history. After the events I just told you in Origins, Sam Wilson, now the Falcon, would move back to New York City, where he would fight alongside Captain America for most of the 70s. So much so, they changed the name of the Captain America title from simply Captain America to now Captain America and the Falcon, starting with issue 134 and lasting through issue 222. With the exception of issue 193 simply just being called Captain America. It was during this Captain America and the Falcon run that Sam Wilson became the iconic character many of us came to love. It's also where he would get his classic red and white costume. He would wear his original green and yellow costume from issues 134 to 143, but then got an all-new and now classic look in Captain America and the Falcon issue 144. But even with his new look, he was still wingless. Falcon wouldn't get his wings until nearly 30 issues later in Captain America and the Falcon issue 170. In the issue, we learn his wings are costume improvements done by Black Panther with Wakanda tech. We learn they're powered from their tips by wafer-thin integrated circuits feeding off of a sunlight-charged power pack, all controlled by a direct link to Sam's brain. It was also in this series, issue 186 to be exact, that writer Steve Englehart retconned several aspects of Falcon's past. Here we see, while Sam Wilson was originally depicted as a social worker, in reality, he was revealed to be a mob-connected thug whose memories were altered by the Cosmic Cube, which I told you about during the Origin segment and was like, yeah, comics, because what is comics if not using an object or thing to alter the reality of a character's past and continuity? This takes us to the late 1970s, where Falcon would briefly join the Defenders superhero team, appearing in issue 62 through 64. Now, as cool as the Defenders are, we know there's two major superhero teams in Marvel Comics, the X-Men and, of course, the Avengers. But since Falcon isn't a mutant, he would join the Avengers. In his initial run with the team, he would appear from issues 183 through 194, but by the time 1983 rolled around, Falcon finally starred in his first solo series, which was a 4-issue miniseries. Now, a few seconds ago I said Falcon was not a mutant. Well, this series actually revealed that he was in fact a mutant, but the reason I said he wasn't is because this was later retconned in the Avengers 2001 annual. So even though he was for a brief period in time, he no longer is, which I think is for the better, and clearly Marvel does too, as they retconned it. But let's continue, shall we? As we rolled into the 80s and 90s, Falcon would be a regular appearing character in Volume 2 of Captain America, before rejoining the Avengers in Avengers Volume 3, Issue 1. However, this time the series would cement him as one of the most prominent members of the Avengers team. After this, Falcon would appear in a brand new Captain America in the Falcon series in 2004, but the series only lasted just over a year and ran for 14 issues. Then in Avengers Disassemble, the Scarlet Witch temporarily brought back Sam's criminal snap personality, but again, it was temporary. But this all leads us to the most significant moment for Sam Wilson, and that's when he became Captain America in 2014. Now, I'm not actually going to talk about how he became Captain America and his time as Cap, because we already did an entire episode on that, which you can find right here. Anyway, of course, Steve Rogers would ultimately come back, reclaiming his Captain America mantle, meaning Sam became Falcon once again, this time leading the Avengers. He also gained a new sidekick, Rayshon Lucas, who helped him out during the Hydra invasion. Rayshon would become his sidekick, Patriot. Falcon and Patriot would then set out to keep the world a better place. But with that, my comic comrades, it's time for powers and abilities. Like briefly mentioned earlier, Falcon has a telepathic link to birds. He can understand them and even see through their eyes. This ability was granted to him after the Red Skull used the Cosmic Cube on him. Then, like mentioned earlier, Sam has a pet falcon named Redwing. He has a paranormal empathic link with him, so because of Falcon's connection with birds, he can command them and use them as his eyes and ears in the sky. Sam is also an expert in martial arts due to Captain America training him in multiple forms. And besides being an extremely dangerous combatant, he's also a master acrobat. Because much like Captain America training him in martial arts, he also trained him in gymnastics and acrobatics, to the point where he's roughly on par with Captain America himself. Sam has also been known to be one of the best aerial fighters in the world, exceeding the skills over other flyers like Iron Man and Miss Marvel. Sam is a master in weapons and has some pretty great equipment. For instance, Falcon's costume is from Wakanda, so his glider wings are the peak of technological advancement, and literally connected to his brain, meaning his wings become an extension of his arms. His goggles have a range of functions like night vision, 360 view, infrared, and the list goes on. Falcon's costume also contains vibranium microweave, making his costume bulletproof from most bullet fire. Recently, however, Falcon's costume uses new vibranium nanotech, which makes it even more durable. He's also had the addition of flash grenades and wrist-mounted flamethrowers, because let's be honest, that's just kind of awesome. Besides that, he has an array of other gadgets and abilities, but I think you guys get the point, so now it's time for reading recommendations. If you guys are looking for some good Falcon reading recommendations, check out Captain America 117, Captain America 277, Falcon Take Flight, All New Captain America Volume 1 Hydra Ascendant, Captain America Masterworks Volume 6, and the brand new Falcon and the Winter Soldier miniseries. That should be more than enough to get you all started. And just like that, that brings today's episode of Variant to a close. But if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to check out this one to my left. And if you like all of our content, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. It always helps us out. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.